Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Rashika Singh, your instructor for English class 10th, and welcome to Biointerest classes. So, we'll be looking at the first chapter of NCRT today, that is A Letter to God. Now, uh, the syllabus did get changed in recent times because I remember when I was in school at that time we had a different syllabus for class 10th. We had totally different chapters. So, and I find that these chapters are like, really easy for every child to understand, and very moral based chapters are there in, all the chapters that are there in the book. They're like very moral based. They have deep meaning inside them. Because when I was going through this chapter, preparing the content for you guys, I realized that this is a chapter which has a message about faith and trust, and a man's ability to believe that whatever we believe in, that can be proven. you know uh, अगर आप किसी चीज में बिलीव करते हो तो इट इज वेरी इजी फॉर यू टू यू नो अचीव वट एवर यू वांट. आपका जो भी फेथ होता है, जो आपका बिलीफ सिस्टम होता है, दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इन लाइफ, एंड दैट इज व्हाट दिस चैप्टर टॉक्स अबाउट. So this is the first chapter, A Letter to God, and this chapter has been written by author G.L. Fluentus. Okay, so G.L. Fluentus is a Mexican writer. Okay, and one thing which I always recommend to everyone is that always know the author's name properly. मैंने बहुत बार देखा है, a lot of people, even my friends used to do it. Like वो लोग हमेशा भूल जाते थे author का नाम. They were not so concerned about that, what the author is saying. Okay, so that is something which I would like you all to not do. Please always be very focused on what is the author's name. किसने लिखा है ये आपको हमेशा पता होना चाहिए, and that is one way in which you can prove that yes, you have the full knowledge about the chapter. Okay, and ये question exam में भी आता है कि who is the author of this particular chapter, so please keep that thing in mind. Okay, so G.L. Fluentus is the author of this chapter. Fine. Now, before you read, for me, and I strongly believe that as a student, you should always know, especially जब आप literature पढ़ते हैं, what is the message that is there inside the story. It's not just about the words and the paragraphs कि आप पढ़कर चले गए. You should always know the exact significance कि आपको क्यों ये पढ़ाया जा रहा है. Because literature हम इसीलिए पढ़ते हैं so that we can develop our deep level of thinking, we can develop our creative thinking. So उस चीज से relate करते हुए you should always know that what is the significance of whatever you are studying. ठीक है, आपने अगर ये पढ़ा तो क्यों पढ़ा, अगर आपने पढ़ा तो उसमें क्या पढ़ा, आपने उसका एक्चुअल मैसेज क्या था, वो आपको हमेशा पता होना चाहिए. राइट? So, in this chapter, they say that faith can move mountains, but what should we put our faith in? This is the question this story delicately possesses. Lencho is a farmer who writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined, asking for 100 pesos. Does Lencho's letter reach God? Does God send him the money? Think what your answers to these questions would be and guess how the story continues before you begin to read it, right? So, uh, there are two type of people, theists and atheists. Okay, atheists are those people who do not believe in God, and theists is just the opposite of that, right? तो आप theist है या atheist बनते हैं, that is always and always personal choice. ठीक है, भगवान में मानना या नहीं मानना, that is a person's personal choice. And जो लोग भगवान में मानते हैं, it is their faith कि there is a higher power out there. ठीक है, भगवान को nobody has seen, right? We only portray them through our images, whatever we have imagined. हम उस चीज से उनको portray करते हैं, but no, we say that nobody has actually seen God. Okay, but still we have a strong faith in God. No matter your religion, we all, majority of the people on the planet, okay, like won't say all, but majority of the people on the planet have their faith in some higher power which they call as God. And वी बिलीव कि कुछ भी अच्छा या बुरा होता है दैट इज गॉड की मर्जी, ठीक है। अगर कुछ भी हमारे साथ अच्छा हो रहा है तो मीन्स गॉड हैज गिवन अस अ रिवॉर्ड, अगर कुछ भी हमारे साथ खराब भी होता है तो दैट मीन्स कि गॉड इज ट्राइंग टू पनिश अस, एंड बहुत तरह के बिलीव्स होते हैं, ओके। बट जब आई हैव सीन एंड आई नो कि जब इंसान के पास कुछ नहीं होता है देन यू हैव ओनली वन प्लेस टू गो एंड दैट इज टू गॉड, ओके, बिकॉज यू हैव अ फेथ कि देर इज सम पावर आउट देयर जो कि आपके साथ हमेशा रहेगी, नो मैटर वेर यू गो, नो मैटर वेर यू आर, देर इज ऑलवेज दिस हायर पावर विथ यू, okay. So the main character of this story is Lencho, who writes a letter to God, okay, and then God को वो लेटर इसलिए लिखता है क्योंकि बारिश हो जाती है, ही इज अ फार्मर और उसके क्रॉप्स सारे खराब हो जाते हैं, तो ही राइट्स अ लेटर टू गॉड आस्किंग फॉर मनी, ठीक है। एंड उसके बाद उसको वो मनी मिलता है कि नहीं, वी हैव टू डिस्कस दैट, ठीक है, वील सी दैट। और मनी मिलने के बाद क्या होता है, व्हाट इज हिज रिएक्शन, वी विल ऑल्सो हैव अ डिस्कशन ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग, ठीक है। तो we have to see कि आगे चल के क्या होता है, एंड दिस इज एन ओपन एंडेड स्टोरी। व्हाट इज एन ओपन एंडेड स्टोरी? ओपन एंडेड स्टोरीज आर दो स्टोरीज जहां पे आपको राइटर किसी कंक्लूजन पे लाके नहीं छोड़ता है, ठीक है। इट इज अप टू यू कि आप आगे उस स्टोरी का क्या एंड इमेजिन कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। सो दिस इज एन ओपन एंडेड स्टोरी, फाइन। नाउ एक्टिविटी इज कि one of the cheapest ways to send money. Now, activities exams में obviously नहीं आते हैं, so it is not important. But what is the cheapest way to send money? तो I'll just make some discussions about it. क्योंकि अगर आपको writing skills में कभी पूछा जाए, especially in your board exams, कि लाइक अर्लियर टाइम्स में कैसे मनी सेंड करते थे और आज के टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में आप क्या कहना चाहते हो, तो व्हाट इज द फास्टेस्ट वे टू सेंड मनी इन टूडेज टाइम? द फास्टेस्ट वे टू सेंड मनी इज थ्रू UPI, through your phone. Your phone has all your data in it and you just have to click it, you have to set your pin and you can send money, right? But earlier ऐसा नहीं होता था, पहले लोग मनी ऑर्डर्स भेजते थे, they used to send money through post office, ठीक है। तो लोग पहले पोस्ट के थ्रू मनी भेजते थे। इवन इन टूडेज टाइम यू कैन सेव योर मनी इन पोस्ट ऑफिसेस, ठीक है, यू कैन ओपन एन अकाउंट इन अ पोस्ट ऑफिस फॉर सेविंग योर मनी, बट अब वो उतना प्रेवलेंट नहीं है बिकॉज नाउ वी हैव बेटर टेक्नोलॉजीज, वी हैव लॉट्स ऑफ अदर ऑप्शंस जिस वजह से वी कैन सेंड एंड ट्रांसफर मनी। तो लेंचो को गॉड ने कैसे मनी भेजा होगा, राइट? लेंचो को गॉड ने कैसे मनी भेजा, क्योंकि एक तो पहली बात तो लेंचो ने एड्रेस क्यों भेजा, दैट इज द मेन मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग। एंड दिस इज अ वेरी आयरॉनिकल थिंग दैट हैज हैपेंड इन द चैप्टर। नाउ आयरॉनिकल का मतलब क्या होता है या आयरनी क्या होती है? आयरॉनिकल मीन्स समथिंग विच इज यू नो समथिंग जिसमें दोनों साइड्स इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, ठीक है। आप बोल कुछ और रहे हो लेकिन आप कर कुछ और रहे हो, ठीक है। या आप बोल कुछ और रहे हो लेकिन उसका मतलब कुछ और है, दैट इज आयरनी, ठीक है। तो दैट इज द सेम थिंग इन दिस चैप्टर इज फुल ऑफ आयरनीज कि गॉड का एड्रेस नहीं है बट द राइटर इज राइटिंग लेटर टू गॉड, ठीक है। और फिर गॉड उसको आगे चल के रिप्लाई करते हैं कि नहीं, उसको पैसे मिलते हैं कि नहीं, दैट इज ऑल्सो बीन सीन ओवर हियर, ओके। So the house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields immediately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. Now we are really going to get some water. Woman, the woman who was preparing supper replied, Yes, God, billing. The older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, Come for dinner. It was during the meal that just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are the new coin. They are new coins. The big drops have 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives." Okay. So now I really like the poetic device that has been used in this chapter. Can you tell me what is a poetic device? Poetic device is something जिससे आप literature में अपना लिखने का तरीका एनहांस करते हैं, ठीक है? मेटाफर, सिमिली, एलिट्रेशन, ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर पोएट्री डिवाइसेस, ठीक है? यहाँ पे भी saying that the big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives, this is a metaphor. Okay, this is a metaphor for money. क्योंकि बारिश हो रही है तो ऑब्वियसली पानी गिर रहा होगा, बट दे आर सेइंग कि आसमान से 10 सेंट एंड 5 सेंट के कॉइन्स गिर रहे हैं, राइट? तो हाउ इज दिस पॉसिबल? सो दिस इज अ मेटाफर. अब ये क्यों है मेटाफर? क्योंकि दे वांटेड कि उनके फील्ड में बारिश हो. बहुत टाइम से इस जगह पे बारिश नहीं हुई है एंड लेंचो इज वेटिंग फॉर दैट बिकॉज लेंचो इज अ फार्मर. ही इज वेटिंग कि बारिश हो जाए जल्दी से, ठीक है? एंड हु इज दिस वुमन हु इज प्रिपेयरिंग द सपर? दिस वुमन इज हिज वाइफ. Okay, so Lencho is the main character of the story. Okay, and then we see that there's a wife who is preparing supper, and there are kids, okay, who are playing outside. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house. ठीक है, तो और अचानक से फिर बारिश शुरू हो गई. नाउ यहाँ पे एरिया कैसा है? इट्स नॉर्थ ईस्ट. If we are talking about northeast, so you can simply recall ki the Indian side of northeast as well. Obviously, this story is not related to in India in any way, but northeast, you can imagine it's the same thing over here. Okay, there are huge mountains of clouds. Okay, and like it's like a place is full of clouds. If you go to the northeastern part of India as well, it is full of clouds all the time. बहुत बारिश होती है वहां पे, माउंटेन्स होते हैं. दैट्स द सेम थिंग ओवर हियर. इट्स अ वेरी फ्रेश प्लेस फुल ऑफ नेचर, ठीक है? द एयर इज वेरी फ्रेश एंड स्वीट. Sweet air means what? When you feel the air on your face, when the air is not too harsh, there is no pollution in the air, that is sweet air, ठीक है? Which we generally do not get in the cities, sadly. लेकिन अगर आप किसी ऐसी जगह पे जाओ जहां पे बहुत सारा नेचर है, बहुत सारे ऐसे पहाड़ है, पानी है, waterfall है, and luckily you find all of that in various parts of India, especially in northeastern India. तो वहां पे आपको ऐसा ही मौसम देखने के लिए मिलेगा. एंड दे गॉट सो एक्साइटेड, दे वाज एक्सक्लेमिंग विथ जॉय कि फाइनली बारिश हो रही है. एंड बिकॉज दे वर लॉन्गिंग फॉर barish, they were longing for rain for such a long time, they are happy about it. Okay, and that is why they compare water drops to money. Okay, for them water was equal to money because without water the farms were dry. Okay, they would they were not having any source of income because they were not able to grow crops. So now when finally it was raining, they could grow crops and that would fetch them money. So rain is equal to money for a farmer. That's why this metaphor has been used over here. Okay, so if you get this question in exam, you should know how to answer this by saying that the rain was equivalent or the rain has been used or compared with a metaphor of money because this money was going to fetch them crops. Okay, because this water was going to fetch them crops, and because of those crops they were going to finally have money in their house. Okay, so with a satisfied expression he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly, one second. Yeah. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble the new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. Now, this was not just rain, but it was hailstone. What are hailstones? हैव यू एवर सीन अ हेलस्टॉर्म? हेलस्टॉर्म वो होता है कि जब बारिश हो रही होती है लेकिन साथ में ओले पड़ते हैं, दैट इज हेलस्टॉर्म। अगर आपने कभी देखा या सुना है कि ओले पड़ रहे हैं, दैट इज हेलस्टॉर्म। ठीक है, तो हेलस्टॉर्म में बारिश होती है, बहुत तेज बारिश होती है, एंड अलोंग विद दैट you have ice pieces falling from the sky. It's not snow, it's frozen water in shape of, in round shape. And that is called a hailstorm. ठीक है, बहुत तेज बारिश होती है, बहुत ठंडा हो जाता है उसके बाद मौसम। तो यहाँ पे भी हेल स्टोन्स गिर रहे थे। ठीक है, एंड दे एक्चुअली लुक लाइक न्यू सिल्वर कॉइन्स। ठीक है, so the boys went out and they started collecting frozen pearls. Even I have done this during a hailstorm. So if you ever get to see a hailstorm, you should also try to enjoy it. Okay. Now here is a difficult word. ठीक है, draped. Draped का मतलब होता है covered. Okay. For example, when women wear sari, we say she was draped in a red sari. Okay. So draping means to wear a cloth, to cover a cloth. ठीक है, जब कोई आपके पास ऐसा कपड़ा हो लंबा सा जिसको आप किसी चीज पे अराउंड रैप कर सकते हैं या कवर कर सकते हैं, वी यूज द टर्म ड्रेप। ठीक है, coming back to the paragraph, it's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. I hope it passes quickly. It does not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white as if covered with salt. But itni zyada barish hui. Okay, the hailstorm was so strong, it was so harsh that the entire field got covered with white. Okay, with white hailstones. It looked as if it was covered with salt. This is again a metaphor. Okay, it looked as if it was covered with sorry, it's not metaphor here because they have used as. This one is a simile. Okay, this as if covered with salt is a simile. Whenever we use terms like as, like, okay, so that is a poetic device called simile. Okay, so not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, a plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we'll have no corn. That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. ठीक है? Okay, तो locust क्या होता है? Locusts are insects which fly in big swarms and destroy crops. ठीक है? तो कुछ टाइम पहले भी when there was a locust attack in India and Pakistan as well. So if you know about that attack, you can imagine what is being said over here. Okay. And even if not, just try to imagine that there is a huge group of insects, a very large group of insects. जैसे there is a swarm of bees, उसी तरह there is a swarm of locusts. And locusts are those insects जो कि plant पे attack करते हैं. ठीक है, bees do not attack plants या something like that, but locusts are those insects जो कि प्लांट को अटैक करते हैं उस एंड पूरे क्रॉप्स बर्बाद हो जाते हैं। ठीक है, तो लेंचो इज सेइंग द सेम थिंग ओवर हियर कि ग्रुप ऑफ लोकस्ट भी अगर आते तो वो इतनी बर्बादी नहीं करते जितना हेल स्टॉर्म ने किया, क्योंकि कुछ नहीं बचा उसके बाद। आफ्टर दैट रेन, आफ्टर दैट हेल स्टॉर्म, nothing was left behind in that field. Not even a single crop was left behind, and that was really upsetting for him. ओके, ही वाज लाइक कि अगर इंसेक्ट्स भी इन प्लांट को खा के जाते, अगर लोकस्ट का प्लेग भी होता यहाँ पे, तो दैट वुड नॉट हैव हार्म्ड मी एज मच एज दिस थिंग हैज कॉस्टेड मी। ओके, क्योंकि कुछ नहीं बचा। तो अब कुछ नहीं बचा तो ऑब्वियसली एवरीवन गॉट सैड। ठीक है, इतना काम किया लेकिन कुछ नहीं हुआ, नो वन कैन हेल्प अस, वील ऑल गो हंग्री दिस ईयर, ऐसा सब लोग बोलने लगे। ठीक है, तो व्हाट डिड लेंचो होप फॉर? ठीक है, लेट्स डू अ कॉम्प्रिहेंशन चेक कि व्हाट डिड लेंचो होप फॉर। लेंचो ने किस चीज के लिए होप किया था? लेंचो ने होप किया था कि बारिश हो। ठीक है, उसके फील्ड में बढ़िया बारिश हो, अच्छे क्रॉप्स हो, सो दैट ही इज एबल टू ग्रो क्रॉप्स, सेल देम एंड हैव मनी, क्योंकि बहुत टाइम से बारिश नहीं हुई थी। ओके, there had been no rain for a very long time now, so he hoped that there should be some good showers which replenish his field and that would bring back the crops to life. Fine. Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? Because they were not only raindrops but also hailstones along with the rain, which resembled like the new coins. And also because it was going to replenish या फिर rejuvenate his field, his crops, which he could sell and buy uh, which he could sell and get money from that. So that is why he said that these hailstones look like new coins. Okay. How did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? What were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? Okay. So how did the rain change? The rain changed into a big hailstorm. Okay. And because of that, it left behind nothing. All the crops were ruined, destroyed. Nothing was left behind, and Lencho was left very, very sad. He was very upset that nothing was left behind. Even insects would not have costed him this harm as much as this hailstorm did, and that's why he was very upset. Okay. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope, help from God. Okay, I just told you in the beginning of this video that when you have nothing left behind, you have only one particular thing. Okay, you have only one thing, and that is you believe that there is some God out there who will help you out. Okay, कुछ नहीं है but भगवान है. ठीक है. And you must have heard elders saying भगवान पे भरोसा रखो, सब ठीक हो जाएगा, there is hope and all of that stuff. ठीक है. So that was the same thing which this family believed. Solitary का मतलब क्या होता है? ठीक है. They said that there is a solitary house in the middle of this valley. Solitary means completely single, alone. ठीक है. That is solitary. ओके. तो एक घर है, उसमें इतने सारे लोग हैं. हु आर दे? लेंचो की फैमिली. एंड लेंचो की फैमिली हैज ओनली दिस वन बिलीव कि सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, भगवान सब कुछ ठीक कर देंगे. एवरीथिंग विल बी फाइन इफ गॉड हेल्प्स अस आउट. ओके. बिकॉज दे शुड, सो दे डिसाइडेड कि दे शुड सीक हेल्प फ्रॉम गॉड. Don't be so upset. Even though this seems like a total loss, remember no one dies of hunger. Okay. Now that is a very big statement, and I think this can also be an important question in exam. Okay, where you can be asked to write your viewpoints. That what do you think about the fact that no one dies of hunger? Okay. So, because this has been used in prose and literature that no one dies of hunger, it is because we think that God does not let anybody die of hunger. But in real life, there are a lot of people out there who actually die because of hunger. ठीक है. तो यू शुड ऑलवेज रिमेम्बर दैट थिंग. तो अगर आपसे कभी किसी ओपिनियन वाले क्वेश्चन में पूछा जाए कि व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन अबाउट दिस स्टेटमेंट, आई थिंक यू हैव अ लॉट टू राइट. यू कैन राइट अबाउट व्हाट हैज बीन इन written in this book, कि no one dies of hunger, which is a big statement to make because it's not relevant in today's time. It's not relevant in real life. Okay, because there are a lot of people who do not get even a 2 square meal. 2 square meal means 2 वक्त का खाना भी नहीं मिलता है. ठीक है. So that's what they say. No one dies of hunger. Although the night Lencho all through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Lencho was an ox of a deep in one was an ox of a deep in one's was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter, which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Okay. So in this paragraph, we get a lot of information. कि सबसे पहले तो कि Lencho used to work like an ox in the farm. मतलब वो बहुत कड़ी मेहनत करता था fields में. Okay, he was a very hard working person. He was a very hard working person as a farmer. लेकिन even though वो farmer था, a lot of farmers you would have known, आपको पता होगा कि a lot of farmers out there उनको लिखना पढ़ना नहीं आता है. ठीक है. हो सकता है वो अनएजुकेटेड रह जाते हैं, दे आर इलिटरेट बिकॉज ऑफ सम और द अदर रीजन। लेकिन लेंचो के केस में ऐसा नहीं था, ही न्यू हाउ टू राइट। ठीक है, उसने डिसाइड किया संडे को फाइनली कि ही विल राइट अ लेटर, और उसको वो खुद जाके शहर तक लेके जाता है, वहां पे मेल में डाल के आता है। इट वॉज नथिंग लेस देन अ लेटर टू गॉड। ठीक है, और वो लेटर उसने पोस्ट भी कर दिया। अब यहाँ पे यू गेट टू सी द फर्स्ट आयरनी। ठीक है, एंड दिस इज समथिंग विच इज ऑल्सो टू अबाउट लाफ कि आखिर कोई इतने कॉन्फिडेंटली हाउ कैन यू राइट अ लेटर टू गॉड, दैट टू अ मैन हु हैज अ फैमिली एंड एवरीथिंग, ही राइट्स अ लेटर टू गॉड, राइट? तो ऐसा कैसे है कि ही इज राइटिंग अ लेटर टू गॉड एंड उसको ये ऑड नहीं लगता है? ठीक है, he writes whatever he has in his heart and his mind, he writes all of that and gives it to the mailbox। ठीक है, वो उसको जाके पोस्ट भी कराता है। इट डज नॉट फील ऑड टू हिम। सो कंसाइंस, व्हाट इज conscience? Conscience is a very powerful word and one of my favorite words, okay, which is a inner sense of right and wrong, okay? So conscience is your part of brain which has the morality, okay? अगर आप किसी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप झूठ बोलते हो तो योर conscience knows that you have lied। ठीक है, अगर आप सच बोलते हो तो योर कंसाइंस नोज दैट यू वर राइट। ठीक है, तो कंसाइंस इज दैट फीलिंग विच टेल्स यू व्हाट इज राइट एंड व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, दैट पार्ट ऑफ योर ब्रेन और दैट स्ट्रॉन्ग इमोशन इनसाइड योर ब्रेन विच टेल्स यू व्हाट इज राइट एंड व्हाट इज रॉन्ग। ठीक है, तो ही न्यू कि वट एवर ही वॉज डूइंग वॉज राइट फॉर हिम एंड इट वॉज डीप इनसाइड हिज कंसाइंस कि देयर इज समथिंग नोन एज गॉड। ठीक है, क्योंकि गॉड के बारे में हमेशा से हमें बचपन से सिखाया जाता है। ठीक है, वी हैव बीन टॉट अबाउट गॉड फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगनिंग। ओके, जब हमारी कंसाइंस डेवलप होने लगती है, जब बच्चा बोलना सीखने लग जाता है, चलना सीखने लग जाता है, धीरे धीरे वी ऑल्सो स्टार्ट टीचिंग विद अदर थिंग्स अबाउट गॉड। तो क्योंकि बचपन से उसने भी यही सीखा था कि देयर इज गॉड आउट देयर, ही बिलीव्ड कि ही कैन गेट हेल्प फ्रॉम गॉड। ठीक है, God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes. Because the hailstorm, he wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. ठीक है, अब भगवान का कोई पता होता है क्या? Does God have an address? Have you written anything to God? No. I mean, some people will say that yes, God lives in churches, in temples, but that is a different thing. Can you actually write a letter and post it? Okay, and that is also one thing which you should notice over here, that he did not go to any temple, any church, or anywhere which is a religious place. He actually went to a post office and posted his letter. Okay, and he didn't even know he address kya hai, but still he posted it. He even put a stamp on it and dropped it into the mailbox. His faith was that strong. ठीक है, तो peso is a currency of several Latin American countries. Just like we have rupees in India, similarly they have peso. Like we have dollars and rupees and other currencies. उसी तरह peso is a currency which is used in Latin American countries. ठीक है, तो what there are a few things which you need to notice over here. The first thing is the irony कि even though we do not know the address of God, ठीक है, and we don't know that where does God actually live, or rather than going to a temple or church or mosque or anywhere like that, he actually goes to a post office and posts his letter, ठीक है, that too with a stamp, ठीक है. And the second thing that you need to notice over here is faith. Okay, he had such strong faith in his heart that no matter whatever will be the, whatever the world says or whatever had happened with him, he had the strong belief in his heart that, okay, I will go out and I will post this letter and I will be replied to this letter. He had this strong sense of faith in his heart. Okay. So one of the employees who was a postman and also helped at the post office went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. ठीक है, अब आप गॉड लिख के भेज दोगे, टू गॉड लिख के सच में अगर पोस्ट ऑफिस में देख के आओगे लेटर, तो ऑब्वियसली वो लेटर कहीं नहीं जाएगा. बट यहाँ पे इवन द पोस्ट ऑफिस एम्प्लॉयज दे लुक्ड एट इट एंड दे वर लाइक स्माइलिंग एट इट. उनका रिएक्शन था कि पहली बार ऐसे जिंदगी में गॉड को एड्रेस किया हुआ लेटर आया था. ठीक है, had that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow. ठीक है, what is amiable? Amiable means someone who is friendly and pleasant. For example, he is a friendly and he is an amiable person. मतलब friendly and pleasant. ठीक है, अगर आप amiable होते हैं तो people want to meet you, they want to interact with you, right? If you are rude to everyone, so obviously nobody wants to meet you. So amiable means someone who is a friendly person. ठीक है, also broke out laughing. ठीक है, तो जो पोस्ट मास्टर है उसको भी इतनी हंसी आई, ठीक है, कि गॉड को लेटर लिखा है, पोस्ट ऑफिस में सेंड किया है स्टैंप लगा के. Very funny. He turned serious and tapping the letter on his desk commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter, starting up a correspondence with God." Okay. So that man, he laughed at first, but we need to understand that he was actually true to his nature. He was very amiable because he understood the fact that that man had strong faith in his heart.